Welcome back. The Victorian Government today has announced changes in terms of protest laws. The most significant, there will be no protests outside places of worship. Joining me live is Liberal MP for Fisher and former Speaker of the House, Andrew Wallace. You would have seen this announcement, I'm assuming. What have you made of it?
Well, Tom, I haven't seen that announcement, but I welcome it, and it's long overdue. The Victorian Government has been asleep at the wheel when it comes to the protection of the Jewish community in Australia, and particularly in Victoria. It is absolutely long overdue. It is utterly unacceptable for people to be protesting outside places of worship. We've seen this as a particular attack and form of intimidation against Jewish Australians, and that is not on, and it's high time that Jacinta Allen has taken this step.
All right, federally, we've got MYEFO out tomorrow, but the coalition already attacking Labor for spending. What is the spending Labor should not be going ahead with that they are at the moment?
Well, Tom, what we've seen, according to Chris Richardson, what we can expect tomorrow in the MYEFO announcement is a $220 billion black hole in the budget. And this is true to form for Labor. Labor spend like drunken sailors at the best of times, but in times like these, we need restraint. We need to get the budget back under control. As we move into Christmas, this MYEFO is essentially Australia's credit card statement has landed in our post office box. And we are now facing the music of seeing 2.5 years, nearly 3 years of Labor's drunken sailor spending. We've opposed more than $100 billion worth of Labor's expenditure. And because Labor is spending like drunken sailors, the Reserve Bank has had to do the heavy lifting and increase interest rates under this government on 12 occasions. This is after Prime Minister Albanese went to the last election saying that interest rates would be lower under a Labor government. He said he had a plan to reduce cost of living for Australians, and cost of living has gone through the roof, as you know, as every Australian tells me when I speak to them. Doesn't matter whether they are an employee or particularly if they're in small business. They are telling me that they are hemorrhaging because they just simply can't afford the cost of this business, of this government any longer.
Okay. The other thing Chris Richardson mentioned was all the different elements that are going off budget, not just Labor, but a trend from both sides. Is that something the coalition would be willing to reverse, to actually display the figure, publish the figure in future budgets that would show true spending, not only on book, if you like, spending?
Well, that's a question that probably should best be put to Angus Taylor, but clearly the opposition is we hold transparency very importantly. We think it's important that the Australian government is transparent with the Australian people. And Prime Minister Albanese came to the last election once again offering a kinder, gentler parliament. We've seen anything but. He also came to the election saying that he would provide greater transparency, and we have seen anything but. You know, this Prime Minister and Jim Chalmers are absolutely out of their depth. They have been on a spending spree for the last 3 years, almost 3 years, and now Australians are having to pick up the tab for it. And it's hurting Australians. We need to get back to basics. We need to ensure that any dollar that is spent by the Australian government is targeted, but it's very, very important also that we provide the essential services to Australians. But I was really, as the Deputy Chair of the Defence Committee, I was really concerned to hear about from Katie Gallagher this morning about reprioritisation of funds from defence. Well, we all know what that means. This is a government that has cut the guts out of defence ever since it came in. It's a government that absolutely does not believe in the Australian Defence Force. It believes that the world's problems should be able to be solved by sitting around a campfire singing Kumbaya. It does not believe in defence fundamentally. And if they are talking about ripping more money out of defence, I can tell you now we'll have a lot to say about that.
A lot of the changes they made so far in that area are actually because so many defence projects were running behind, there were too many in the pipeline at once. Wasn't that required? Otherwise, they all run behind. So reprioritising is actually getting an orderly, if you like, transition or an orderly number of projects to do at the same time. You can't do them all at the same time. There were so many delayed.
Well, Tom, the problem with Richard Marles' administration of the Defence Department is that he has ground spending to an absolute halt. When I get out and talk to defence manufacturers in this country, in fact, I was in Parliament House the other day, and with a lot of defence industry contractors, and they were saying to me, in fact, saying to all and sundry who were at this meeting, that unless the government starts to provide investment in defence, that those defence industry contractors that were there at that meeting would not be there next year. That, I cannot, look, with the exception of one or two big international primes, small to medium-sized defence industry contractors in Australia are telling me that they are bleeding dry.
But that's anecdotal. The budget has defence spending in the last budget going up.
This is not anecdotal.
2.02%.
This is not
when
anecdotal.
you say ground to a halt, they haven't stopped defence spending. I mean, you might want a rhetorical flourish.
Well, Tom, I have the opportunity in my role to speak to a lot of defence industry contractors, and they are telling me to a person that they are hemorrhaging money simply because the government has stopped providing funding.
But that's literally anecdotal
contractors.
evidence, what you described just then.
Well, Tom, when you speak to these businesses and they are all saying the same thing, they're all saying the same thing. You can say it's anecdotal, but what I'm seeing is defence industry contractors around the country, with the exception of one or two major primes that might be doing well, but these companies are bleeding. And these are small mum and dad businesses that got involved in defence industry essentially because Christopher Pyne several years ago said that we believe in you. We want to invest in small to medium-sized enterprises. We believe in sovereign capability. So these small mum and dad businesses took a gamble. They invested in their own businesses to supply into the supply chain of defence industry, only to have the rug pulled from under them by this government.
Got to leave it there. Andrew Wallace, appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Good evening, Tom. Hey, Merry Christmas, Tom. I won't see you beforehand.
No, indeed. Enjoy your break.
Authorised by Andrew Wallace, LNP, Boccarina, Queensland.